Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is December the 24th, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day, happy Christmas Eve. Hopefully this episode finds you in a good place, in a good space, right before the big day, the big special holiday. If you celebrate it, if you like doing that sort of thing, doing a little Christmas, gift giving, maybe a little ham eating, I don't know. But yeah, no, for me, it's been a good day though. It's been solid. I will say, a bit of ups and downs, a bit of turbulence on my day off, but that's okay. Not too bad. We'll get into it. But, I got up about 30 minutes after my usual alarm clock. So I was like, hey, well, my last alarm, I have 3 alarms to wake up. But yeah, I woke up around 7:30. I don't know why I'm wording it this way. I'm being weird. But we got up. I was overall feeling pretty good. No problems, no worries. I figured, hey, I'll do a little bit of gaming, and I'll go ahead and get to the gym because I knew I had to get to the gym and get out before 2 o'clock. So I was like, all right, no problems. I can definitely do that. So I want to say I got to the gym around 9:30 and, got right on the Smith machine. And I was expecting it to just be an easy, breezy, beautiful, heavy lift day. Because I was like, hey, I know I'm not going to be able to work out tomorrow. So, let's just get in. Let's just get in where we fit in. Let's go hard. And I did my first bench. And I think I was trying to hit 320. I think, yeah, it was 325. And I moved it. I was like, all right, that's good. But I got up. And after I was done with the full movement, I drop weight and then do another 6. But then after I got up, I was like, ooh, my shoulder doesn't feel good. I feel sour. That's not good. And that was just not a good vibe, right? So that's setting the tone. And I'm going through the rest of my motions. And I get to kind of my halfway point where I was like, oh, I could load harder here and put a 45 on and then do my overhead press, do my, good mornings, all those. I'm like, no, I'm going to conserve my strength, conserve my energy for my squats and my deadlifts. Cause there's something not right. Something's off. I could just feel it. And, I get to my squat and I think we squatted 350. So my max was 355. That was the last thing I hit on Friday. Felt great. I was like, yeah, we gotta do this. The squat went well, no problems. We get to the deadlift and I go for my first attempt. I don't even get it halfway. And I'm like, uh-oh, okay, that's fine. Sometimes you fail and that's okay. We'll give it one more attempt. And I try to shoot for it, and I, once again, only get it about halfway, and I got to put it down. And I'm like, that fucking sucks. So I peeled back down to 275. I jerked that up. I'm not happy, but we got it up, and I'm just like, fine. I guess this is the weight for the day. And I get that done, and then I look over at the free weights. All the benches are taken, that I want, the incline ones. And I'm like, this is my fate. This is my live Miss Eve is being ruined by my own self. And now there's just people where I don't need them. And I'm just like, this is terrible. So I was a little bummed out. But I did see that my friend was on the Stairmaster. So I was like, I went over to them and, just did stairs for 40 minutes. So that was pretty much the good chunk of my cardio. After that, I did some filler work because that kind of cleared up a little bit for me to get on some other machines. So that was good. Did some core work. I was able to get on the free weights, and I just said, you know what? I'm not forcing anything. I'm just gonna do some 45s, just keep it light, because I don't know. I'm not feeling the hottest right now. And then also my stomach started bothering me, so I was just everything is coming together in a really bad way. So yeah, that was a bummer. But after I did my free weights, I actually got back on cardio for about another 20 minutes of treadmill. So that was good. But yeah, not my favorite workout session of the year, that's for sure. And I know I'm not going to be able to work out tomorrow, so that's a bummer, at least not at the gym. So, yeah, yuck. But, at the end of the day, it was a good workout because I showed up and I got through it all. So I'm happy about that. A little worse for wear. I'm a little sore, but hey, come Friday, hopefully I will be, good to go. And hopefully I'll have a better session to report back to y'all. So yeah, let's see. After that, we ran a quick little errand and then came back home. And, here we are, ready to report on some news, do a little yapping about some news. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into it. Yeah, I try not to let failure really disrupt my day, especially when it comes to the workouts, but it's hard. It's hard. My ego gets so deflated and I'm just like, I did this last week. What is the problem? What is different? And, these things happen. Sometimes it just doesn't come together, but that's all right. I know I'll get there. I know it's a journey. We don't hit the summit every day, but we're always walking. We're always climbing. Anyway, let's continue this. From The Guardian. Libya's army chief dies in plane crash in Turkey. The Libyan army's chief of staff, Mohammed Ali Ahmed al-Haddad, has been killed in a plane crash after leaving Turkey's capital, Ankara. The Prime Minister of Libya's internationally recognized government confirmed on Tuesday evening that Mohammed Ali Ahmed al-Haddad had died and that 4 others were on the jet with him. This followed a tragic and painful incident while they were returning from an official trip from the Turkish city of Ankara. This grave loss is a great loss for the nation, for the military institution, and for all the people. The Libyan Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dibeba, I'm sorry, I'm fucking that up, said. He said the commander of Libya's ground forces, the director of its military manufacturing authority, an advisor to the chief of staff, and photographer from the chief of staff's office were also on the aircraft. The Turkish Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya, or Kaya, I'm going to say Kaya, said on X that the plane had taken off from Ankara's Istanbul airport at 1710 GMT en route to Tripoli, and that radio contact was lost at 1752 GMT. He said authorities found the plane's wreckage near the Kesikavak village in Ankara's Heymana district. Yerlikaya, I know I'm just going back and forth on that, added that Dassault Falcon 50 type jet had made a request for an emergency landing over Heymana, but that no contact was established. The head of the presidency's communications directorate, Burhanettin Duran, said later on X that the emergency landing request was made because an electrical failure. A private jet carrying Libyan Chief of General Staff Mohammed al-Haddad, 4 members of his entourage, and 3 crew members reported an emergency to the Air Traffic Control Center due to an electrical failure, asking for an emergency landing, he said in the post. Turkey's defense ministry had announced Haddad's visit earlier, saying he had met with the Turkish defense minister Yasar Güler and Turkish counterpart Sekut Baratoglu, along with other Turkish military commanders. The crash occurred a day after Turkey's parliament passed a decision to extend the mandate of Turkish soldiers' deployment in Libya by 2 more years. NATO member Turkey has militarily and politically supported Libya's Tripoli-based, internationally recognized government. In 2010, it sent military personnel there to train and support its government, and later reached a maritime demarcation accord, which has been disputed by Egypt and Greece. In 2022, Ankara and Tripoli also signed a preliminary accord on energy exploration, which Egypt and Greece also oppose. However, Turkey has recently switched course under its One Libya policy, ramping up contacts with Libya's eastern faction as well. All right, so there you go. Moving on to our next story. Obviously, though, condolences, everyone who lost their lives in that situation. Our next story, though, ABC News. Ashley Buzzard arrested in murder of daughter Melody. Cold-blooded. Ashley Buzzard was arrested on Tuesday for allegedly killing her 9-year-old daughter, Melody Buzzard, who was shot in the head and found dead in a rural area of Utah, the Santa Barbara County, California sheriff announced. Sheriff Bill Brown said cold-blooded and criminally sophisticated premeditation and heartlessness went into planning the crime, and ruthlessness went into actually committing the crime. Ashley Buzzard's arrest comes more than 2 months after the little girl was reported missing. Authorities said they believe Melody was killed shortly after she was last seen alive on October 9th near the Colorado-Utah border during a road trip with her mom. Investigators have recovered a significant amount of evidence against Ashley Buzzard, Brown said at a news conference. On December 6th, the sheriff's office in Wayne County, Utah, was contacted by a man and a woman who found a decomposed body while taking photos in a rural area, authorities said. On Monday, the FBI crime lab made a DNA link between the remains in Utah to familial DNA of Ashley Buzzard, authorities said. The examination of a spent shell casing found in the Buzzard home matched what was found at the scene in Utah, and live similar rounds were found in Ashley Buzzard's car, officials said. A murder weapon has not been recovered, authorities said. The sheriff said Ashley Buzzard made deliberate efforts to prevent detectives from finding Melody. A motive hasn't been determined. Maternal filicide is rare and always difficult to comprehend, Brown said. The investigation into Melody's disappearance was sparked on October 14th when a school district administrator reported her extended absence to authorities, the sheriff's office said. Authorities determined Melody and Ashley Buzzard left their Lompoc, California home on October 7th for a 3-day road trip that took them to the Nebraska area. Melody was last seen alive on October 9th near the Colorado-Utah border. Ashley Buzzard returned home to Lompoc on October 10th with the car she and Melody had rented on October 7th, but Melody was not with her. Authorities claimed Ashley Buzzard wore wigs and swapped license plates during the trip. Authorities said on Tuesday that Ashley Buzzard is still not cooperating. It appears she acted alone. Today we stand together in grief, but also with resolve. Melody deserved a far better life than she had, the sheriff said at the news conference. May God bless the innocent soul of Melody Buzzard, who we will never forget. So this is obviously super sad true crime story. I feel like we haven't covered something like this in a while. I definitely am coming in very cold on this. I do not know, obviously, like the authorities, I don't know the motive yet, or at least it hasn't been revealed to me. So, I mean, if there's anyone on this TikTok wave, and they might, be on their TikTok true crime shit and they know something about this, please hit my line, hit my DMs. I'd love to know more about this shit so I can talk about it. I can do a better update. But yeah, I'm sure this is a story we will be coming back to. Let me go ahead and take a water break, and then I guess we gotta get our arrows out. Holy shit. Oh. Got some like Skyrim crimes. All right. From ABC News yet again. Man killed in arrow attack. Suspect arrested after fiery standoff. A New Jersey man faces murder and arson charges for allegedly striking another man with an arrow and then setting multiple fires while barricading himself inside his residence following the deadly attack, officials said. The incident unfolded over the weekend in Kearney, New Jersey, according to the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office. Police responding to a report of an injured man Saturday evening found the victim, Pablo Criollo, 45, of Harrison, who had been struck by an arrow, according to acting Hudson County Prosecutor Wayne Mello. Criollo was transported to an area hospital where he was shortly pronounced dead, according to Mello. Law enforcement identified 44-year-old Oscar Feijoo of Kearney as a person of interest in the attack, according to Mello. When members of a SWAT team responded to Feijoo's home, the suspect barricaded himself inside and then allegedly ignited multiple fires early Sunday, according to Mello. The suspect remained barricaded in the home for several hours after fire suppression activities were complete. Feijoo eventually left his home while armed with knives and taken into custody shortly before 1 p.m. after a brief standoff, Mello said. Feijoo was charged with murder, aggravated arson, and unlawful possession of a weapon, Mello said. Additional charges are expected, the prosecutor said. It is unclear if Feijoo has an attorney at this time. Now, not to make too light of this, because obviously, there's a person who died and lost their lives here. But I don't understand what this dude's kit was. Like, what was he on about? Okay, I just have a bow and arrow. I'm going to fucking use it here. Oh, I'm getting barricaded in my home. Time to light everything on fire. Psych, I'm going to go out instead of a blaze of glory, I'm going to go knives out. I'm gonna go out that way. And it's like, dude, like, what is up, you? Like, what is going on here? But I do want to close out with this. The victim's distraught wife told ABC New York station WABC that her husband was on his way home from work when he was attacked from behind. My husband was a good man, a great man, his wife told WABC. I'm devastated, not only for me, but also for my daughter, she told the station. So obviously, very sad that, a person who was just trying to get home, like, somehow winds up in this kind of situation. I mean, that's why I would love to, get details of maybe what happened that spurred this on. Not that anything justifies this kind of action from Feijoo and him doing all this fucking shit. But, yeah, obviously a crazy story. When I saw the headline, I'm like, I knew I had to get into that. So, all right, we're going to take it. I normally don't go all the way around the world. I like to kind of end in America, but we got to take it to Australia. We have an update post Bondi Beach shooting, and then just in terms of just Australian government kind of making some changes. I would say some for good, some for maybe not so good. But let's see, from Reuters. But let me go ahead and take my last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. Let me start with the water. I'm quite parched. Speaking of loadouts, I've noticed that when I'm at home, my two beverages, like when I'm podcasting, I have a water and then I usually have another substance. When I am podcasting, like, as a guest, or, I'm podcasting in someone else's, like, setup and, with others, whatever, I've noticed that I have 3 drinks, which is usually the water, another substance, and then an energy drink or, like, a coffee. So, yeah, that's my little drink trio when I'm out and about. I don't know. These are just fun facts. I'm filling time. Also, another weird thought I've been having. I got some pistachios the other day, and I feel like I'm I don't know, delusional enough, delulu, maybe as the kids might say these days, that like you eat the right kind of pistachio. I got these like honey roasted ones or whatever. But sometimes I'm just eating a pistachio. And I think sometimes the flavor profile reminds me of like a McDonald's French fry. And it makes me very happy. Because that way you don't have to eat a whole French fry from McDonald's and all the calories come with it. Oh, it's so nice. But yeah, and I also just like pistachios. I think they taste good. Okay. Enough of my random thoughts. Australian state passes tougher gun protest law after Bondi Beach shooting. Australia's most populous state on Wednesday passed sweeping new gun and anti-terror rules following the mass shooting on Bondi Beach, tightening firearm ownership, banning public display of terror symbols, and strengthening police power to curb protests. So that last thing is the thing that I dislike the most there. But we'll try to get into this as we go along. The New South Wales State Parliament passed the Terrorism and Other Legislation Amendment Bill early morning after the upper house approved the bill by 18 votes to 8 during an emergency sitting. Premier Chris Minns said not all residents of New South Wales would support the tough reforms, but his government was doing everything possible to keep people safe in the wake of the December 14th shooting at a Jewish Hanukkah celebration, where 15 people were killed and dozens wounded. Sydney in New South Wales has changed forever as a result of that terrorist activity, Minns told reporters. The bill passed the lower house on Tuesday with support from the governing center-left Labour and opposition Liberal Party. The rural party-focused National Party, the Liberals' junior coalition partner, opposed the gun reforms, arguing the ownership caps would unfairly disadvantage farmers because they needed so many guns to farm. Apparently, the Bondi Beach gun attack, Australia's deadliest in almost 3 decades, prompted calls for stricter gun laws and tougher action against anti-Semitism. So I guess the way of fighting anti-Semitism here was curbing protests, right? Because they're saying, and they don't say this, and they don't make the correlation. That's correlation. There you go. But that feels very direct. They're saying, hey, well, we know these protests and people are coming together and they're saying things like globalized intifada, these scary words, and from the river to the sea, ah. And so it's like, hey, we're doing something about that. We're going to fine you for saying globalized intifada or something like that, and then if there's any kind of flags or, any spooky symbols, we're done with that. Because we saw that those guys in those shootings, they had ISIS flags. They were makeshift, but they were ISIS flags. They were clearly inspired. And they did some details on this. I know we're kind of segueing around, jumping around, doing this Isaiah style now. But they're like, oh, well, these guys went to the Philippines on a vacation. And it's like, were they doing this for military training or this and that? And like, that was never confirmed or anything like that. So as far as I know, they just went on a trip. But obviously their lives got very dissected. There was clearly some kind of inspiration there, but not necessarily a direct link between them and ISIS. But that being said, all this reaction, they're being booed, essentially saying, hey, you did not do enough here. Because of anti-Semitism, you let that shit just continue to grow and you didn't do anything. This is what happens. This is what begets it. And so they're saying, okay, now we're going to just put the kibosh on protests. We're going to make that harder to do. And I don't see how that necessarily is going to combat anti-Semitism and make the Jewish community any safer. But so it goes. I will say, though, I do like the stricter gun laws. I think less is better in these kind of things. I'm sorry, farmers. You're just going to have to make do. Let's see. I'm going to hit that a little bit more details here, a little bit more facts. Public display of flags and symbols of prohibited I got a burp coming. Militant organizations such as Islamic State, Hamas, or Hezbollah has been outlawed, and offenders will be jailed for up to 2 years or fined the Australian $22,000 or 14,742 USD. Min said concerns have been raised over chants like globalize the Intifada, usually heard during protests or during pro-Palestine protests, adding that hateful statements used to vilify and intimidate people must be banned. So there you go. Let me see here. I did want to read this part as well. Activist groups have condemned the law and signaled plans for a constitutional challenge. In a statement, the Palestine Action Group, Jews Against the Occupation, and First Nations-led Black Caucus said it would file a legal challenge against what they described as draconian anti-protest laws rushed through the state parliament. It's clear that the state government is exploiting the horrific Bondi attack to advance a political agenda that suppresses political dissent and criticism of Israel and curtails democratic freedoms, the group said. So that said it better than I could. That's why I'm glad I was able to get to this part and read it. Let's see. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has also vowed a crackdown on hate speech, with his center-left federal government planning to introduce legislation to make it easier to prosecute those promoting hatred and violence, and to cancel or deny visas to people involved in hate speech. But so you see how we're kind of being a little bit loose or on a spectrum here. Sorry, I bumped the mic with the words hate speech, with the phrase hate speech here. So I don't know. I'm a bit concerned about that, but it is what it is. I do get how these things happen. But, I felt like this was a very relevant update when I heard it. I am, like I said, glad to see at least some action. Is this going to be boom? We've waved a magic wand now, and now it's all over. We don't have to worry about gun violence in Australia. No, obviously not. But I do think having a very proactive, effective method of trying to deal with this shit, combat this shit, and not just saying, oh, let's just make fucking excuses for this shit. Like, I do think action is good in that regard. But I would also say, hey, we're going to also ban you from protesting because that's scary to people, and that will also combat this. I think that's bad. So there you go. So that's my 2 cents on everything for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Always appreciated. But you don't have to do any of that. I really appreciate you just hanging out with me. Let me hang out with you. That's always pretty cool. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.